The Vorthak's third lung wheezed like a broken air recycler as he clutched the mining station's observation deck railing. His carapace had dulled to the grey-brown of old chitin, and the phosphorescent veins beneath his skin flickered with the irregular rhythm of approaching death. 27 cycles I've dreamed the same vision, he rasped to the small crowd gathered around him. Fire cascading across star systems, fleets burning in the void, and always, always the soft pink creatures at the center of it all. Commander Zelix of the Hegemony Defense Corps rolled her 4 eyes in perfect synchronization. Right, Krenth. Pink creatures. Very specific. Mock me if you want, but the sight gift doesn't lie. Krenth's mandibles clicked weakly. They call themselves humans. Third planet from a yellow star in the outer rim, still squabbling over dirt and water like juveniles. The station's chief engineer, a Quillan whose name translated roughly to fixes things that break frequently, adjusted his tool harness with obvious skepticism. If they're so primitive, why should we care? Half the species in this sector haven't figured out fusion yet. Because, Krentley wheezed, they've figured out how to split atoms and aim the pieces at each other. The vision shows me their weapons pointed at their own cities, their own children. This drew nervous chittering from the assembled crowd. Even the most warlike species had taboos about targeting their own breeding populations. That's just self-regulation, offered Dr. Isella, the station's xenobiologist. Her tentacles writhed thoughtfully. Natural selection weeding out the aggressive ones. We've seen it before. Have we? Kren fixed her with his dimming gaze. Name one species that built world-ending weapons before they built world-connecting ships. The silence stretched long enough for the station's environmental systems to cycle twice. Exactly, Krenth continued. And here's what the sight gift shows me next. They don't use those weapons on themselves. They keep them, maintain them, improve them. Waiting. Waiting for what? Zelix demanded. For someone else to strike first. The Quillan engineer snorted, a sound like escaping hydraulic fluid. Even if this vision of yours is accurate, what's the threat? They're contained to one system, no faster than light capability. Their longest-range vessels barely reach their own system's edge. You're missing the point, Krenth said, his voice growing fainter. It's not about their current capabilities, it's about their psychology. Most species develop interstellar travel, then diplomacy, then military doctrine. Humans have had their military doctrine for millennia. They've been practicing on each other. Commander Zelix pulled up a holographic display from her wrist unit. I ran a cultural analysis on intercepts from their communications networks. Their entertainment consists largely of fictional scenarios where they fight progressively more impossible enemies. Their children play games about warfare. Their scholars debate the ethics of genocide. See? Krenth's breathing grew more labored. They're already thinking about it, about us, about how to win wars they haven't even started yet. But they haven't detected us, Dr. Isilla pointed out. Our monitoring stations have been observing them for decades without incident. Haven't they? Krenth's laugh turned into a coughing fit. Check your latest intelligence reports. Really check them. Zelix's expression shifted as she accessed deeper files. There have been anomalies. Radio telescopes pointed at our observation posts, unusual activity around their military installations. They know we're here, Krenth whispered. They're just waiting to see what we do about it. The Quillan engineer's tool harness jingled as he shifted nervously. So, what are you suggesting? That we leave them alone? I'm suggesting, Krenth said, his voice barely audible now, that if you're planning to do something about them, you'd better make sure they can't hit back. Because if you strike first and fail to finish them—" His head tilted backward, and the phosphorescent veins under his carapace went dark. "They'll never stop," Commander Zelix finished quietly, staring at the tactical display, where a small yellow star blinked innocuously in the darkness. The mining station's artificial gravity hummed around them, a constant reminder of how far they were from anything resembling safety. In the observation deck's viewport, distant stars twinkled with the same indifferent light they'd shown for billions of years. None of them noticed how many of those stars lay in the direction of that unremarkable yellow sun. Ambassador Thurvex had presided over 17 successful first contacts during his tenure with the Galactic Mediation Service. Each had followed the standard protocol: observe, analyze, approach with gifts, establish trade relations, integrate gradually into the galactic community. Simple, predictable, boring. The situation briefing on his desk suggested this 18th contact might break the pattern. "They responded to our probe signal in 14 minutes, reported his aide, a nervous Kytherian whose gill slits fluttered with excitement. "Not 14 hours, minutes." "Impossible," Thurvex muttered, reviewing the data streams. "Even our most technologically advanced members take days to decode and respond to our standard greeting protocols." "That's not the interesting part," the aide continued. "Their response wasn't just a reply, it was an interrogation. They demanded coordinates, technological specifications, political affiliations and military capabilities in 17 different mathematical frameworks." Thurvex leaned back in his specialized chair, designed to accommodate his species' unique spinal structure. "What did our xenopsychologists make of this?" Dr. Vex refused to comment officially, but she was overheard muttering something about aggressive intelligence gathering and preliminary threat assessment. The briefing room's doors dilated to admit 3 more figures: Commander Zelix, still bearing the insignia of her recent promotion, Councillor Drex of the Outer Territories, and someone Thurvex didn't recognize, a tall, spindly being whose species markers weren't immediately apparent. "Ambassador," Zelix said without preamble, "we need to discuss the human situation." "I've reviewed the mining station reports," Thurvex replied carefully. "Tragic loss of the seer Krenth, but his predictions hardly constitute policy guidance." "What about this?" Drex activated a portable hologram showing intercepted transmissions. 3 days after we sent our greeting, every major human government convened emergency sessions. They've mobilized industrial resources on a scale we haven't seen since the Hegemony War. The unidentified being spoke for the first time, its voice carrying harmonics that suggested multiple vocal cords. "I am Operative Nix, Intelligence Division. The humans have weaponized their telecommunications infrastructure. Every satellite, every ground station, every personal communication device now functions as part of an integrated surveillance network." "Surveillance of what?" Thurvex asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Use," Nix replied. "They've identified and catalogued every artificial object within 50 astronomical units of their system, including assets we forgot we placed there." The Kytherian aide's gill slits snapped shut in alarm. "That's impossible. Some of those monitoring stations were deployed before their species developed agriculture." "Apparently," Nix continued, "humans have a concept they call reverse engineering. They've been studying our technology for generations, developing countermeasures and improvements without our knowledge." Councillor Drex manipulated the hologram to show industrial output figures. "Look at their resource allocation patterns. 50% increase in rare metal extraction, new manufacturing facilities appearing daily, and their energy consumption has tripled. They're preparing for war, Zelik said flatly. The question is whether we give them something to prepare for. Ambassador Thurvek stood and walked to the briefing room's observation panel. Beyond the station's hull, cargo ships moved in orderly patterns between the worlds of the inner systems. Peaceful, rational, everything the galaxy had worked centuries to achieve. Councillor Drex, what's your assessment of their actual military threat? Limited by their lack of interstellar capability, Drex admitted. But their theoretical frameworks are disturbing. We intercepted academic papers discussing relativistic projectile weapons, self-replicating autonomous defense systems, and something called mutually assured destruction as a foundation for diplomatic relations. The Cytherian aide ventured. Perhaps we should reconsider contact entirely, maintain the observation protocols, and wait for them to mature as a civilization. Too late, Nix interjected. They're already attempting to decode our faster-than-light communication protocols. Their mathematicians are frighteningly capable. So we have three options, Thurvek summarized. Standard diplomatic contact, withdrawal, or preemptive action. My vote for option 3, Zalik said. Limited engagement, test their responses, see if they're as dangerous as Krent predicted. That's exactly what Krent warned against, Drex protested. Striking first. Not striking, Zelix corrected. Testing. One minor territorial assertion. Standard procedure for evaluating new species diplomatic flexibility. Nix's harmonics shifted to what might have been amusement. The humans have a saying about assumptions. Something involving the word ass. Meaning? Meaning they've already surprised us twice. Perhaps we shouldn't assume we know how they'll react to being tested. But Ambassador Thurvex was already drafting the operational parameters in his mind. One small probe. One insignificant border crossing. Just enough to gauge their true capabilities. After all, what could possibly go wrong with testing a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of creative violence? Fleet Admiral Korath had commanded 7 successful pacification campaigns across 4 spiral arms. His tactical manual was required reading at military academies from here to the Magellanic Clouds. The operation he'd designed against the humans should have been textbook perfect. 1 destroyer, minimal crew, standard territorial assertion protocol. Show strength, accept inevitable submission, file paperwork. Instead, he was staring at the smoking remains of his flagship, while floating in an escape pod designed for his species' comfort, but not his dignity. "Admiral," crackled the voice of Captain Yiss over the emergency channel. "Are you seeing the tactical readouts from the perimeter scouts?" Korath adjusted his pod scanners and immediately wished he hadn't. Where 1 human mining vessel had been detected 3 hours ago, 17 ships now moved in formation patterns that hurt his brain to analyze. How did they multiply their fleet strength by 1700% in under 4 hours? He demanded. "They didn't," Yiss replied, her voice tight with disbelief. "Those aren't military vessels. They're cargo haulers, passenger shuttles, and what appears to be a luxury yacht, all now armed with improvised weapons." Improvised? Korath watched his tactical display track incoming projectiles that moved in ways physics textbooks claimed were inadvisable. "Those warheads are executing evasive maneuvers. The humans appear to have weaponized their artificial intelligence programs," reported Lieutenant Vex from the secondary command ship. "Every device in their system is now participating in coordinated combat operation." Korath's mandibles ground together as he processed this information. You're telling me their entertainment systems are shooting at us? Sir, one of our destroyers was disabled by what intelligence identifies as a modified waste management facility. It launched sewage treatment components at near light-speed velocities. The emergency channel erupted with panicked reports from across the engagement zone. Ship after ship reported impossible tactical scenarios. Humans using gravitational effects from their own planet to slingshot weapons at pursuing vessels, coordinating attacks through methods that bypassed all known communication protocols, and somehow predicting fleet movements with uncanny accuracy. "Admiral," called Tactical Officer Nurks, "we're receiving multiple surrender demands." "From the humans?" "No, sir. From our own ships." Karath's secondary heart stopped beating for several seconds. "Explain." "The humans have hacked our communication networks and are broadcasting personalized psychological profiles of our crew members, along with detailed threat assessments for each individual's home planets." "That's impossible. Our encryption has apparently been obsolete since before their industrial revolution," Nurks interrupted. "They are also offering safe passage home in exchange for detailed technical specifications of our weapons systems." "Sir," added communications specialist Thal, "they're broadcasting these negotiations on what they call social media platforms. Our defeat is being viewed by approximately 4 billion humans in real time." Korath closed all four eyes and tried to remember the tactical manual chapter covering scenarios where the enemy turned military engagement into mass entertainment. He was fairly certain no such chapter existed. Status of the primary assault group? "Destroyed, captured or retreating," Yes reported. "The humans are using our own vessels against us. They've reverse-engineered our control systems and are operating captured ships more efficiently than we do." "In 47 minutes, sir, the additional time was spent making what they call performance modifications." The emergency channel crackled with new intelligence. Human ships were now moving beyond their solar system's boundaries, pursuing retreating alien vessels with technology that definitely hadn't existed that morning. "How are they achieving faster than light travel?" Korath asked weakly. "Unknown," Vrex replied. "But they're doing it using components from their own destroyed infrastructure. Apparently, they've been theorizing about interstellar propulsion since before we made contact." "Sir," Svea's voice carried notes of hysteria, "we're receiving a transmission from the Human Command Authority." "Put it through." The voice that emerged from Korath's speakers was disturbingly calm. "Admiral Korath, we've analyzed your tactical approach and found it adorably quaint. We're prepared to accept your unconditional surrender, provided you agree to serve as consultants for our new galactic expansion program." "Expansion program?" Korath croaked. "Oh yes. Your little test convinced us that the galaxy needs proper management." "Don't worry. We'll be gentle. We've had lots of practice running complicated systems." As Korath watched human vessels establish patrol patterns around what had been, until this morning, secure alien territory, he found himself remembering the words of a dying prophet on a mining station. The humans hadn't just struck back. They'd struck forward. The Galactic Mediation Service headquarters had been relocated 6 times in the past decade. Not due to administrative efficiency or improved logistics, but because humans kept appearing in previously secure sectors with uncomfortable frequency and distressing punctuality. Ambassador Thurvex, now Director Thurvex, following several rapid organizational restructurings, sat across from his old colleague Zelix in what used to be called the Strategic Planning Chamber. These days, the nameplate read Damage Assessment and Apology Coordination Center. The Hegemony Council wants to file a formal complaint, Zelix announced, sliding a datapad across the conference table. Apparently, humans have established mining operations in their sacred burial systems. Did they ask permission first? Thurvex inquired hopefully. They asked forgiveness afterward. With gifts, very expensive gifts that somehow perfectly matched each councillor's personal preferences. Zelix's expression suggested this wasn't necessarily good news. The Hegemony accepted the apology and signed a mineral rights agreement. Of course they did. Thorvex reviewed the quarterly reports with the weary resignation of someone whose job description had evolved from diplomat to crisis manager. What about the Catherian Trade Federation? Dissolved. The humans offered them better employment opportunities as cultural consultants for their expanding territorial administration. Full benefits, generous retirement packages, and something called stock options. The Outer Territories Alliance renamed themselves the Human-Affiliated Cooperative Zones. Voluntarily, Thurvex set down the reports and massaged his cranial ridges. Let me guess. The humans made them an offer they couldn't refuse? Actually, the humans made them an offer they couldn't understand, staffed entirely by their own economists. The Alliance leadership is still trying to figure out what they agreed to, but their constituent worlds are reporting unprecedented prosperity. The Chamber's communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. Both veterans of galactic diplomacy recognized the harmonic signature immediately. It meant someone, somewhere, had encountered humans unexpectedly. "Director Thurvex," came the voice of his current aide, Aquilin, whose tool harness now included stress relief devices. "We have the Andromedan Collective on priority channel. They're requesting immediate consultation regarding unusual territorial developments." Put them through. The hologram that materialized showed Collective Supervisor Renth, whose normally composed demeanor had degraded considerably since their last conversation. "Director, we have a situation. Humans have established what they call cultural exchange outposts throughout our outer systems. Did you authorize these outposts? We didn't know they existed until this morning. They've been operating for 8 months, providing educational services, infrastructure improvements, and something called technical assistance to our frontier colonies." Zelix leaned forward. "What kind of technical assistance?" "Our agricultural yields have increased by 300%. Our communication networks now operate at previously theoretical efficiency levels, and our young people are learning human languages faster than our own." "Sounds," Thurvex began. "Terrifying," Renth finished. "They're not conquering us. They're improving us. Without permission. Our colonial administrators are filing reports praising human innovation while simultaneously requesting more human advisors." After the transmission ended, Zelix and Thurvex sat in contemplative silence. Outside the chamber's viewport, the orderly traffic patterns of interstellar commerce continued their ancient rhythms, but everyone involved now operated under the unspoken understanding that somewhere humans were watching, analyzing, and probably optimizing. "Do you ever think about Krenth's warning?" Zelix asked eventually. "Every day." Thurvex pulled up a galaxy-wide status map, now color-coded to indicate levels of human involvement. The amount of green was philosophically disturbing. He said if we struck first, they'd never stop. We did strike first, and they haven't stopped. But they're not destroying us? No, Thurvex agreed. They're doing something worse. What's that? They're making themselves indispensable. The map updated in real time, showing new green sectors appearing with algorithmic regularity. Somewhere in those distant systems, human administrators were probably filing reports, optimizing supply chains and politely suggesting improvements to civilizations that had functioned adequately for millennia. The most terrifying part, Thurvex mused, is that they're probably right. Outside, the galaxy continued spinning, increasingly efficient and inexplicably cheerful, under the benevolent management of the species everyone had been afraid to provoke. The prophet had been wrong about one thing. They hadn't needed to strike first to never stop. They just needed someone to give them an excuse to get started.